I don't want everyone's fear to be drugs. I have kids. I'm not saying, hey, y'all go out there and try crack. But again, crack is not a deadly drug. To me, it's like weed. It's something that if you do it, you'll get over it. But my message was simply anything you're afraid of, don't be afraid. Take it head on.
All right, I got a question, Cal.
All right.
Are you a coward?
Yeah, I think I have to admit that I am, Nick.
It's okay.
At least, in Viper terms.
It's okay to be a coward, because I too am a coward. And not to insult our audience, but I imagine that at least 60% of them are probably cowards. There was one time in my life where I was not a coward. I did try crack during my sophomore year of college, and
was it a fun experience? Rate it out of 10 for us.
I would say the first 45 minutes were 11 out of 10, and then the following 4 hours were like 0. I was already extremely drunk and high. This is a school night. I started at midnight. This is just a terrible idea from start to finish. The guy that actually sold us the crack and basically taught us how to use it was this really weird kid who scored a perfect SAT score.
Oh, he's one of those crackheads.
But was just one of the weirdest, probably the single weirdest dude I ever met in college.
We call that the Unabomber archetype.
Yeah, he was one of those guys. He didn't last very long. He had some sort of mental breakdown and dropped out eventually. But he sold us the crack. We smoked it right on the middle of campus, had a ton of fun. And then 2 hours later, I was puking up in the bathroom. And the next day I woke up feeling more horrible than I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah, I have partaken in a lot of things, but I can genuinely say I don't think crack is on the list.
All right, though, but welcome to Polishing Turds with Nick and Cal. My name is Nick.
And I'm Cal.
And this is the show where we take a deep dive into the wonderful world of bad music.
Yeah. I'm jealous how deep you can actually get your voice.
This is one of the reasons that I like this artist, is because I can kind of sing along with him. And it's so fun. God damn it, Cal. I am so excited for today's episode. Today we are talking about VIPER, an internet rap legend best known for his 2008 song, "Y'all Cowards Don't Even Smoke Crack." And now you know why we were talking about crack for the past
all
5
makes
minutes.
sense.
But okay, so this is going to be a weird one for a lot of people. It's going to be kind of comparable to our episode on the Shags.
Yep, that's what I was going to say.
Where this is an outsider artist that Cal and I are familiar with, but I imagine that most people in our audience are completely confused when they read the title of this episode. But that's okay, because we're going to do our best to just take you through the wild and woolly world that is VIPER. And I guess we'll just start off with, Cal, how would you describe this guy?
This man is a human bong cloud. And he's a bong cloud trapped in, his physical form is 2022, but his mental state is trapped in 1992.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
This music, I'll start with his music. Actually, I won't, because it's hard to describe. You're just gonna have to listen to some clips.
It's definitely, I would say it's hip hop music. But it's rap, unlike any rap that you've ever heard before.
Yeah, it's slowed down and played backwards.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it other than that. It's horror movie rap. It is 3 a.m. I stayed up all night smoking weed and drinking cough syrup rap.
I mean, pretty much literally, as
Yeah.
we'll soon find out. Like, but I just feel it feels like something from another dimension. Like, just imagine if like the Matrix got hacked by a Windows 95 virus and they had to develop rap in that weird universe. Like it might sound a little bit closer to Viper than it does to like Nas or Tupac. And this is the experience that many Viper fans have is I started out liking this guy ironically, and I ended up like over the years kind of liking him genuinely.
Oh, dude. Yeah, this is like, again, comparison to the Shags. I mean, this is a lot of bad artists, bad with air quotes. I mean, this is how it ends up for me, where I'm sitting there going like, I don't think they're bad.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
Or it's bad in a very specific way that's interesting and thoroughly
Yes.
unique. And like just nobody else sounds like this guy. You're not going to hear another rapper like Viper. But the confusing thing about Viper is he's put out a lot of music.
Yeah.
I won't reveal how much yet, but you're not going to believe me when I do. And about like 99% of the music he puts out under his own name is garbage.
Yeah.
It's just like straight up unlistenable crap. But the 1% that isn't is some of my favorite music of all time. And I mean that. And then finally, this is a unique artist amongst the artists that we've covered in that it is the only artist in our catalog with whom I have had personal contact. But you'll have to stick around to get that story. So without further ado, let's start talking about Viper.
All right.
Hailing from Houston, Texas, Viper gained notoriety on the internet thanks to his bizarre style, prolific output, and his unapologetic defense of crack cocaine. His unique approach to hip-hop marries lo-fi beats with a deep voice, glacial delivery, and thugged-out gangsta lyrics. The overall effect is extremely weird, to the point where it often feels like a satire of the genre itself. And yet as bizarre as Viper's music is, the man himself is even more of an enigma. He's a licensed real estate broker who claims that he'll soon become the world's first trillionaire. It's trillion with a T.
I don't think he knows how much that is, but okay.
He also runs a scam moving business and has been routinely accused of ripping off his fans. I'll just say that's true. He's also been catfished by online trolls who accuse him of being a sexual predator.
Oh, he did some Chris Hansen shit in this episode.
Yeah. And finally, he has claimed at times to be, quote, Black Jesus and or, quote, the last messenger of Christ.
That's always a sign of a well-adjusted individual, Nick. Every time we've covered someone that at some point has a breakdown and thinks they're Jesus.
Yeah, remember when Vanilla Ice claimed to be the last true prophet of Jehovah?
In all seriousness, though, Scott Stapp did do this. This is
He
not
just-
the first
no, he
artist we
didn't-
covered.
He didn't say he was a literal prophet of God. Like he came, closer to that than most artists we've covered. But even in his like days, I'm sure he probably dabbled in some crack too. But he knew when to hold off from that. Now, as wild as all of that sounds, we're honestly just scratching the surface. Viper is without a doubt one of the most fascinating humans we will ever cover on this show. So grab your glass pipe and your torchlighter, because we're about to enter the cracktacular world of Viper the Rapper.
Are you ready, Cal?
Hell yeah.
Let's polish this turd.
Haha. Here's a little something for you busters. Yeah. What's up with that? Y'all cowards don't even smoke crack. What's up with that? Y'all cowards don't even smoke crack. Hey to you, don't even smoke crack. Bitch, use a mark. Boom, motherfuck that hoe shit. Pass a G, that's stem. I'm about to blaze up, especially when it's after them. I change the game. Don't get it misunderstood. Hitting it out the glass and the smoke all good. Can't water it with green. Good work, got that stick. Stars know I keep it. They on my dick, these niggas sick. But when I do smoke some green, I'm straight out that rose. You best believe. But green ain't better than that hard. Hard is so much fun. 7 for 45. Hotel gets it done. And I don't care if you judge me. I'm smoking cooked and living so lovely. So stop looking like you're dumb. You know you wanna try, but still to get some. What's up with that? Y'all cowards don't even smoke crack.
Yeah.
Oh god,
Dude, I always have this scene in my head of like, imagine you're with like your friends and you're like saying, I got this new song, you got to hear it, we got to play this in
we
the
gotta
car.
bump this track.
They're expecting some Wu-Tang shit. Well, I'm betraying how old we are. They're expecting some Kendrick Lamar shit, and you know, you put on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like you're not gonna hear that at your nearest club anytime soon.
No.
That's not the kind of music you bump from the back of your Cadillac at a neighborhood barbecue. Like that's just like weird 3 a.m. on multiple drugs kind of music, as you were hinting at earlier, Cal.
Yes, this is music for the few.
Yeah. So that song was the song Y'all Cowards Don't Even Smoke Crack. It's considered to be his signature song. It's definitely the one that got him famous, usually the first Viper song that anybody hears. And it's a meme for a number of reasons.
Yes.
I think the first one we'll have to get into is the spelling of this song.
You're right, yeah.
Do you want to like give that one away, Cal?
Yeah, it's not y'all, all right? It's YOU''LL.
Yule Cowards.
Yo, cowards, don't even smoke crack.
So it's like supposedly he has a reason, or at least he's claimed in interviews he has a reason for spelling it that way.
Oh, I don't think he does.
I think I mean, when I first read it, I thought that he was just like incompetent and didn't know how to spell. But then I learned later that he has a business degree. He knows what he's doing. So then I thought maybe, okay, no, he's just being a troll. And that still may be true. But then I read what his supposedly real explanation is. So Viper apparently used to be a real gangster and he used to actually sell crack. And so when he did that, he would have to test out each batch to make sure he was selling quality product.
Sure. There's no other method except actually smoking it.
Well, as we will soon learn, Viper cares about nothing more than ensuring the quality of everything he releases to the public. But okay, so he's testing his crack to make sure that he's not selling him some stepped on shit. And he notices that a lot of his fellow drug dealers wouldn't do that, because they were scared of crack. But he wasn't scared. He's not a coward. He's going to go ahead and light that shit up. And he's explained that this song is actually a metaphor for all of the travails, the challenges that you will have to face in life. You can't be a coward. You have to just go ahead and face them like a man. And so because you will face these challenges in life, you'll have to smoke crack.
There is no way,
as it were.
There is no way that was everything he was thinking of when he changed A to OU.
This is what he claims.
He says, "Yeah, people are gonna get this shit. I spelled it YOU, so I'm serious."
But that is the story behind Yule Cowards Don't Even Smoke Crack.
Nick, I gotta say it right now, I'm gonna be doing a lot of bad Viper impressions. I gotta know before does he talk like that all the time, or is that just his rapping voice?
It's mostly his rapping voice. He does have a distinctive speaking style, but he pretty much sounds and talks like what you would expect. He doesn't sound a lot more polished in his interviews than he does in
just a little faster
from his music. It's a little bit less low pitch of the low pitch, but he says some pretty insane shit in interviews. Okay, so we're going to have a lot to get into with this guy, but I want to start off with a general overview of VIPER's music. Now, whether you found the sample we just played horrible or oddly alluring, you can't deny it's unique. The lazy flow, the synthy production, the overall cloudy mix, there's just nothing like it. Certainly not in 2008 when that song came out. And indeed, many people consider VIPER a pioneer of so-called cloud rap, but we'll get into that towards the end. Now, I want to break down a few of the elements that make up VIPER's sound. Now, first you have his
deep voice
and his slow delivery. VIPER has this really deep baritone voice that I personally really love, and I think it just makes him stand out from most other rappers.
Yeah, I agree. I think the deep voice is key to this whole thing.
Absolutely. And especially most modern rappers where they're sounding kind of nasally, they're kind of, I think, adjusting their pitch to be in line with either auto-tune or just the expectation of auto-tune.
Right. You got to get ready for that pre-chorus.
Yeah. Like, as amazing as Kendrick Lamar is, like, his voice is on that more nasally end, whereas, like, VIPER takes it in the other direction. And I think with VIPER, it really works for the kind of music that he's trying to make.
Can you imagine Typo Negative without Peter Steele? It's the exact same deal here.
It's Typo Negative with Geddy Lee.
Yeah. you need it. It's part of the whole package.
Absolutely. So let's listen to a very quick clip from one of his songs. The song is called "I Sell Dope Boy."
What's up? I don't give a fuck. If boys run up, I'll be quick to bust. What's up? I don't give a fuck. If boys run up, I'll be quick to bust. What's up? I don't give a fuck. If boys run up, I'll be quick to bust.
Yeah.
Did you notice how similar to the first clip we played that
No, like, he has a very defined sound. It's like that lo-fi energy is going to pervade throughout his work. And
if you're in the car, like, nobody's going to be like, is this VIPER? Like, they either know or they don't know.
Yes, like, they're either like, is this VIPER or is your sound system broken?
Are you all right? Why are you listening to this shit?
That actually is a good seg into the next element of VIPER sound that I want to talk about, and that is his production. Now, VIPER produces the vast majority of his own beats, and to me, these are truly what set him apart. Now, like his flow, VIPER's best beats are slow and lazy. They often use things like synths, reverse samples, and other creative techniques to create this kind of druggy, ethereal atmosphere. And as we said before, like, these are not the beats you bump at a club. These are not the beats you put on if you're trying to have a good time with a female. These are the things that you, like, just want to sit on a couch, take whatever drugs you're into, and honestly not crack. Actually.
No, yeah, it's a little too fast.
As much as he's kind of associated with crack, like, I think you'd want to be on something like ketamine or something like really like groggy, and just something that'll slow you down a little bit.
You need to be in a glacial state of mind.
Yeah, like, you just want to sink into this music. And I think if you can, like, you're going to really enjoy the experience. So I tried to pick out one of my favorite VIPER beats, and I ended up landing on a song called Thug Verses.
This is Thug Verses. Gold Shot Verses. verses. I thought you knew. No sound came out, and you don't know who hit you, but you got put down quick. Now you there dreaming about 2006.
It's funny. This was a weird one to cover, Nick, because I came into this thing like, yeah, I know VIPER. This will be easy. I know a lot of VIPER, and I realized I don't.
No.
I probably know 1% of his total music.
This is this is one of the few artists where I was not able to listen to his entire discography. And you're laughing, but like, as we'll soon learn, that's not really possible.
No, yeah, there's a reason for that.
Like, this guy has put out a lot of way more music than I could possibly do my due diligence to cover. But at the same time, the amount of VIPER that's worth listening to is a tangible, real, like reasonable amount. And that song is from what I think Cal and I both consider to be probably his best album.
Yeah.
The Hiram Clark Hustler. And that's where he really just kind of nails his sound. But just like, just consider what you just heard, Cal. Like, there was a bunch of reversed beats, some kind of weird, like, altered sample.
Oh yeah, it sounds like a bad dream or something. I mean, this is the type of shit like when you're, Adult Swim puts on Cartoon Network at 2 a.m. And you're on the couch half asleep and you're not even sure if you just saw what you actually saw.
Yeah.
This is that in song form.
Yeah, it's just like it's like a fucked up dream sequence from a David Lynch film.
Yeah.
And finally, the VIPER package is not truly complete without the lyrics. Now, on paper, his rhymes are not impressive by a long shot. For the most part, they basically consist of the same kind of generic gangsta rap tropes that you've heard 1,000 times, with very little clever wordplay to spice it up. But if you're focusing on the lyrics alone, I think you're missing the point. To me, VIPER's dark lyrics work best when they're juxtaposed with his dreamy, chilled-out beats. By doing this, his rhymes are recontextualized with a sort of postmodern irony, one VIPER himself seems kind of unaware of. Now, to give you an idea of what I mean, here are some of the lyrics to his 2006 song, Homicide. Now, Cal, I want you to read these for us and do it in your hardest, most gangsta voice possible.
All right. Oh, this is going to be embarrassing. I'm not a gangster. All right. I chilled in the cut and jumped by your ride. 3 shots, what's up? And I did it real fast. Silencer put on there, you didn't hear the blast. Yeah, I did the job right. Plain decision, now I'm out in the night. Now it's time for a glide. Past your ride, it's homicide.
All right, now here is the actual music.
I chilled in the cut, then jumped by your ride. 3 shots, what's up? And I did it real fast. Silencer put on, and you didn't hear the blast. Yeah, I did the job right. Plain decision, now I'm out in the night. Now it's time for a glide. Past your ride. It's homicide. Now it's time for a glide. Past your ride. It's homicide.
That was awesome. Dude,
I know.
I don't know how those are those songs that where you have to just wonder if an artist is a secret genius or not.
He knows what he's doing is unconventional.
He has to. Because, yeah, that's not like I'm going to be a thug in a cool way. That is, I can, this isn't in a relatable way. This is like psychotic shit.
I feel
I did this in a cough syrup induced dream. I don't even remember killing you.
I feel like the experience of hearing that song is like VIPER is gonna kill you. He's gonna put a Glock to your head and pull the trigger, but you're okay with it because by so doing, he's gonna transport you to some sort of like higher realm.
Right.
It's like you want him to kill you.
Dude, it's bizarre.
It's
It's
really
beyond
weird.
words sometimes.
It's just like, and it's just, there's something like magical about it to me.
I'm shocked he hasn't made it into more soundtracks. And you think about like how many artsy indie movies you could fit that to a scene.
Well, we will talk about one soundtrack that he was in, but
all right.
definitely not a mainstream one. And part of the problem with Viper is that all of his best music, like all the stuff we've played for you so far, when he was making it, pretty much nobody knew about it. And so he was like really this like kind of, even more so than the Velvet Underground, just like this hidden gem forever and ever. And by the time he was discovered, it was almost too late. So overall, I think the key to Viper's music is that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. You know, he's obviously not a great rapper or a great lyricist, and he is a really interesting producer, but he's no Kanye West, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet somehow, when you put it all together, you get something that's just unique, something mysterious, something otherworldly. What I can only call the magic of Viper.
That's I think all my favorite artists have a little bit of that.
Je ne sais quoi, you know?
Yep.
And now, as singular as Viper's music is, it didn't completely come out of nowhere. Viper's music is the product of a rich and storied music scene that emerged in his hometown of Houston, Texas. Now, to truly understand the origin of Viper's sound, we're going to have to talk at least a little bit about chopped and screwed music. Now, okay, so Cal, chopped and screwed, do you know anything about this? Have you ever heard of this?
Reading this script was the absolute first time in my life. And I purposely did not listen to any samples or anything like that because I wanted to be surprised for this.
Well, I think if you had, you would have liked it, Cal. I think this is a kind of hip hop thing that it's a little bit warped and weird, and I think it might be up your alley.
Yep. Sounds fair.
I can tell you, I knew that Chopped and Screwed existed. I didn't hear any of it until I started doing the research for this episode. But man, am I glad that I discovered it, because it is a pretty dope scene that they had. So for those of you who don't know anything about what we're talking about, this is a movement that emerged in Houston during the 90s. And now when you think about 90s hip hop, it was the golden age of hip hop. It's a great, it's like all my favorite hip hop comes from the 90s. But when people talk about the 90s, they tend to talk about either East Coast or West Coast hip hop. And for good reason.
Not me.
But
I'm down with that Missouri scene.
I'm sure there's some good. Nelly came out of Missouri.
Okay, see.
So, but as you intimated, Cal, like there is a whole middle chunk of the country that has at least some redeeming qualities to it some of the time.
Few and far between, but they're there.
But actually, one of the most interesting hip hop scenes of the 90s came out of Houston. Now, we really do not have the time to truly do this scene justice. Like, it would be worthy of its own episode, except it wouldn't be polishing turds, because I think all of Chopped and Screwed music is awesome.
Yeah, we only cover bullshit.
Yeah. So we're going to give you just the absolute briefest possible overview of this highly important movement. So basically, the whole thing started with an artist named DJ Screw. Now, in the early 90s, Screw pioneered a new style of hip-hop that remixed existing tracks by slowing down the tempo and adding scratching noises and other techniques to create a sort of stutter effect. Now, to give you an idea of what this sounds like, here's a sample of a song by legendary Houston rap group The Botany Boys, paired side by side with DJ Screw's Chopped and Screwed remix of the same song.
Right about now, my big homie about to lock up and drop some shit for y'all G's, slush and pill. So peep gang.
Till you can't smoke no more, I say, think about it in your dreams. Smoke, till you can't smoke no more. Think about it in your dreams.
Well, I'm smoking, how off that endo. Ready to hit the switch on the bitch in the Pinto. About the boys got static, tragic, automatic. Get your ass whipped like the magic. We ain't playing no games, we just swinging them things. Creeping through the clover where the real niggas hang. Catch us tripping on the blades or the 1, 2, 3s. Or in the kitchen cooking a whole bunch of cheese. Got to get my pay on my lean and my strut. None about the boys bustin' cap.
My big homie, about to lock up. Drop some shit for y'all G's, slushers, so big gang.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up, isn't it?
I don't know what it says about my soul, but I like the chopped and screwed version.
Oh,
much
me
more.
too, man. Yeah, it's super dope. It's very much like, just think about just like hanging with your buddies, 3 a.m. on a hot summer's night, you know, sitting on your back porch smoking weed, like listening to like Chopped and Screwed.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not gonna drive around pretending to be a gangsta. I'm gonna sit there being what I am, a fucked up person.
yeah, like no, it's fucked up.
Yeah, and the way when the slowed down version it goes smoke, that is what it actually feels like. That's more accurate.
Yeah, for sure. No, so like I really think it's cool. Yeah, so basically you get this the chopped and screwed effect by just playing the same record on 2 separate turntable decks, and you push the second record forward by 1 beat, and then fuck around with the crossfade to create that like whoa, 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 you know, like warped mix between the two tracks. And so a Screw would make a lot of these mixes. This is very DIY. He just did it in his own home, and they kind of got passed around Houston, and it became kind of this legendary underground thing.
Was it a favorable, like, so if you're the Botany Boys,
oh,
are you pissed off he did this, or are you happy?
Everyone wanted a Screw mix. Like the whole scene kind of became predicated around him, and then eventually it evolved to him like actually producing other rappers.
Sure.
And he did. There's a couple of tracks out there where he did some rapping himself, but mostly he either recorded other guys, remixed other guys' stuff, or DJ'd clubs and stuff, obviously. But he built this whole scene around him. He actually started this kind of group around him called the Screwed Up Clique.
Sure.
And apparently what happened is that, he kind of starts this little underground scene, and VIPER is kind of on the fringes of that. Like, he's kind of friends with all of these all of these guys.
He's my weird friend.
But no, he didn't record with Screw. He says that he met him or that he knew him, but he knew a lot of the guys that were in that scene, and he was clearly inspired by them.
Yeah.
Because you could hear what Screw was doing in that mix. And then what VIPER does is that, he just tries to emulate it, but like without the chopping and screwing.
Right.
He just goes straight into the, hey, he slows it down preemptively. Yep. And again, I want to emphasize that we're really not doing this scene justice here. Like, it has a whole evolution in history, and it's a very fascinating story. But there's a couple of points that I want to emphasize here. And the first thing was that this really did inspire a very vibrant rap subculture in Houston. And the scene that Screw kind of spawned and inspired eventually kind of spawned a lot of rappers that you might have heard of, guys like Paul Wall, Mike Jones, South Park Mexican, and Chamillionaire, who had a #1 hit. And then the other thing that the Houston scene is really well known for is that they were the first scene that popularized codeine syrup, aka lean, aka purple drink,
aka scissor.
Scissor, yeah, that's what they like. Houston was the first city to start having this be a popular drug.
Thanks, Houston.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I can't imagine it's that many of you, but
you're listening to this show.
Yeah, right. So this is a beverage that mixes codeine cough syrup with soda essentially, and its effects, from what I understand, are depressive and relaxing, and just kind of put you in this kind of like chilled out mood where you can appreciate that kind of like slow, groggy music that Chopped and Screwed kind of goes for.
If you drink it enough, you can eventually kind of become like Nick and I and like this normally, even on your normal Monday.
Yeah, you just like walk around and barely understand anything that's going on. Now, sadly, DJ Screw died in the year 2000. Ironically, from a codeine overdose.
Why do we do this, man?
We always
set you up with laughs and
and then
drop the tragedy on you later.
All the greats die eventually. I suppose everybody else does too.
Yeah, we're all gonna die, Nick.
But the point is, his legacy lives on to this very day. He's an overlooked but highly influential figure in modern music, and his musical ideas can be heard in genres as diverse as cloud rap, witch house, vaporwave, and I think it goes without saying, the music of VIPER. And really, I think, because you and I both kind of like vaporwave.
Yeah,
although,
yeah.
Like definitely that weird, like kind of warped sensation that kind of stuttering back and forth, like pitch shifting that music is known for. Like definitely a lot of that is drawn from the sounds that Screw was able to make.
I can't put my finger on what I like, but I definitely catch myself clicking on vaporware things as they come up in my YouTube algorithm on the side.
No, I love vaporwave. Somebody on YouTube once described vaporwave as remembering the future, and I think that's a good way to think about it.
It's the juxtaposition, man, of the optimism of the 90s, but like in a dystopian setting. Have you ever watched on YouTube, people will link up vaporwave or even songs that are kind of in that vein, like Toto, like Africa by Toto, and they'll put it to like an empty mall, like a mall that is clearly run down.
Yes, I've seen those. Yeah.
And that speaks to me in a way I can't fully describe. Something about that resonates with my soul.
It's like you're trying to make the most of this empty capitalist husk that we all live in.
It's a crushed dream, but the music isn't about like, it's not lamenting that. It's more like celebrating the old dream before it was crushed, or celebrating it knowing it's going to be crushed. I don't know. It's very weird.
Okay, but back to VIPER. Let's talk about who this guy is, where he came from, how he got to be as fucked up as he is. So VIPER, the man was born Lee Arthur Carter on October 7th, 1971. One of 7 children, Lee grew up in the rough Hiram Clark neighborhood on the southwest side of Houston. His father, Lionel Carter, was a Methodist preacher, while his mother, Betty, was a high school principal. And just a quick side note about Betty Carter, because she recently passed away, and actually VIPER uploaded her entire funeral on his YouTube channel where he posts his videos, which is a weird thing to do, but apparently this woman had a very fascinating life. She grew up in Texas, during like the 40s, 50s, 60s. So not a great time to be a black woman in the South. But she got a doctorate in education, and she said she was inspired to live Dr. King's dream. So she moved out to El Dorado, Arkansas, to teach in a school system that had just recently been desegregated, basically at the behest of the federal government. And Betty Carter was one of the women that volunteered to go into these desegregated schools and teach. And she did so even when the Ku Klux Klan was trying to stop her by burning crosses on the family's yard.
So let me ask you, man, whenever I hear stories of really incredible people like this, do you think she is disappointed that her son is Viper the rapper?
Well,
or do you think that like she's, well, he carved his own path? Like, do you think she justifies it somehow in her head?
I think she gave him, I think when little Lee was a young boy, she sat him down. She's like, now Lee, whatever you do, do not be a coward. We do not have cowards in this house.
And even at 6, he's like, okay,
he,
mama, okay.
And he
won't do it.
And he interpreted that his own way.
Yeah.
So
when I sell crack, I'm gonna smoke that shit.
It's like, yo, Vipe, we got to move this powder, man. It's like, let's get it out to the street. Wait, what do you do? Why you putting that in a bowl, man? Like, the fuck?
Don't be talking about that shit.
My mama didn't raise no coward.
No, but like,
yeah, it's insane. He came from like, aside from that they actually lived in Hiram Clark, this is a prestigious family in my mind.
They are. No,
Yeah.
she's like, this is both very highly educated, highly serious people who, probably only had to live in a poor neighborhood because it's the fucking South in the 60s.
Yeah, exactly,
And,
exactly.
No matter how far you advance in education, you're still black. So,
Yep.
so they had to grow up pretty rough. And yet, this was a household where education and religion were very highly valued. Viper says that he attended church 4 times a week. And, later he claimed that he scored in the top 98% of his SATs. That's actually the title of one of his albums.
Like, I scored the top 98%.
Yes. We'll get into his album titles
Oh,
later.
I love it.
But there's I scored top 98% of my SATs, and I scored top 98% of my SATs too. But I actually believe him because he makes up a lot of shit. Like, he's not a trillionaire, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But I think this is such a specific number that I think if he was going to lie, he'd say, I got perfect SATs.
Right.
And we do know that he got a master's in business administration from the University of Houston, which is not a slouch university. Like,
yeah, you have to try to
he
finish that.
So he clearly is a smart guy who
He chose this life, y'all.
He whatever happened, he chose this. But I guess more important from a musical perspective, he started playing piano at the age of 5, and then he started playing organ and singing in his dad's church when he was 8.
See, and that tells me this isn't like a Shags type anomaly.
No.
I mean, this guy, if he wanted, he could choose to make more conventional music.
Yeah.
This is an active decision to make it sound so strange.
So some of the interviews I've read from Viper said that he started out kind of doing R&B, which kind of makes sense given like what his voice sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised he didn't make it as an R&B artist, just because I feel like he'd be perfect for that. But eventually he switched to rap. And the thing that people kind of forget about Viper's musical career is that his rapping didn't really get going until the mid 2000s, by which point he was in his 30s. His early history to me is a little bit hard to decipher. So I'm just going to kind of run through a few things that we do know about Viper's kind of early-ish life. So first of all, he did get a business degree from the University of Houston, but I'm not sure exactly when that happened. But then also in his teens and 20s, he ran with some gangsters. Remember, he grew up in a rough neighborhood. People are a product of their environment. And supposedly, Viper was a member of the 5'9" Pyru gang, which is a subdivision of the Bloods. People have dug up Viper's criminal record, which states that he has been arrested at least 25 times dating back to 1991. And now most of these charges are like things like criminal mischief, evading arrest, driving without a valid ID, possession of marijuana, like the last of those shouldn't even be a crime. He did spend some time in the pen, though. He mentions that on some of his songs as well. One of his album covers is actually his prison ID. And he claims that in 2002, he got sent to the penitentiary for, quote, a false statement on a written document. Must have been a pretty important document to go to prison over it. But apparently this did kind of inadvertently help his musical career, because he says that he wrote over 300 songs while he was in prison.
Whatever.
He had the time.
Dude, I could write 300 songs like tomorrow. As eventually.
Could you?
Yeah. No, I'm sitting here at this table writing a podcast with Nick. This is what I do. I got a big dick. All right, there's a song. Put it down. There's one. Let's do this 290 more times.
Okay, well, but guess who did write it, Cal?
Yeah, me,
VIPER.
baby. Okay, I can appreciate that's if they are truly real songs and not just napkin notes. I will give credit that.
Well, like presumably this would include like the "Y'all Cowards" song, or like a lot of the songs. That
some
we
of
just
the real
played.
songs.
A lot of his like actual songs from the portion of his career that is actually interesting.
All right, I'll give
was
credit
written
then.
During this prison stint.
Even if you're writing like 20 a day and one is okay. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and then in 1997, when Lee was about 26, he appeared in the independent film Fifth Ward, which was written, directed, and produced by his older brother Greg Carter. Now, I've actually seen this film. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube, and it's an interesting film. It is very well intentioned, very authentic. They shot a lot of it in the actual Fifth Ward of Houston, which is like the roughest part of Houston. So like they really care for the characters and the story, and it's a real slice of life for, these boys growing up in a very rough neighborhood. That said, on a technical level, it's not a very good film, just in terms of cinematography, editing, acting, shit like that. But actually, VIPER, or I guess Lee Carter at this time, he has a very significant part in the movie. He's not a professional actor by any means, but he is pretty deep. I'll tell you what, he's a lot better in this film than Billy Ray is in any of his films. Like that's for sure. But more importantly, Lee contributed to a song on the soundtrack to Fifth Ward, which, by the way, the soundtrack to Fifth Ward is hands down the best part of the movie, because they got like all the Houston like underground shit on that soundtrack. And this song that he did for this soundtrack represents the first Lee Carter recording that we know about. Now, he was doing this track under the name J Ride, apparently, and the song is called Choppers. So let's go ahead and hear that song.
See, we turning these corners and chopping these blades, bumping on vibes and sipping syrup in the shade. See, we turning these corners and chopping these blades, bumping on vibes and sipping syrup in the shade. See, we turning these corners and chopping these blades, bumping on vibes and sipping syrup in the shade. See, we turning these corners and chopping these blades, bumping on vibes and sipping syrup in the shade. See, we riding on the poles and we pushing tight nose and we moving in the road, and everybody knows that we showing up at the party thick in a line. Peep as a gleam puts haze in the eye. It's early, time to make a loop, so I'm back on the streets, riding in a coupe. Big body, my boys in addition, while I'm lapped out listening to fiction, coming from the rattling speaker plate. More watch in the sunshine state. Turn up the speaker, let the bass get loud.
Dude, I like that song, but I gotta say something about VIPER rapping fast.
Yeah, it's like
fast for him.
That's it's normal. It's like it's warp speed compared to the VIPER that we know. But
it's strange. I have too much back context to this to be able to listen to it, and
it's definitely a little jarring to hear him sound like a normal rapper.
Right? Yeah, it's like he's trying to be normal.
But no, I think it's pretty dope.
Yeah, I liked it.
But like you said, Cal, he hasn't developed his own original sound quite yet.
No, if he did that, 10 times on an album, he wouldn't make it.
No. But like very good for a beginner.
Yep.
Now, Lee's first full album as a rapper and producer came in 2003 with the LP Hustlin' Thick, this time under the name Lee Dog.
Oh, shit.
I think that was a bad choice.
I agree.
Too many dogs. You've got Snoop Dogg, you got Nate Dogg. You don't need a Lee
Little
Dog.
big Lil Dog. Yeah, it's crazy.
But nevertheless, like this was what his vibe at the time. So this is the song "Grindin' Well" by Lee Dog in 2003.
All right, let's see it. All right. Yeah, so for me, that track felt like the puberty of his development.
Yeah, like he's getting closer.
I didn't like that as much as the one we just listened to, but I can recognize that is the next step in the logical progression towards my favorite Viper stuff.
Yeah, like he takes it down.
Yeah, this is the ugly teenager. Like, I'm not a big fan of this, but it's getting towards something that is cool.
Oh yeah, for sure. So this album, this is, I think, one of the only Viper albums that isn't totally self-released. This came out on the independent label Dope House Records on October 7th, 2003, which was Lee's 32nd birthday. I also kind of like talking about Viper because I like the idea of a guy peaking in his mid to late 30s. Like,
gives us hope.
Gives us a little hope. But no, he really tried on this record, and it's I don't think it's bad by any means. It's definitely not the like fucked up alien shit that we're gonna hear in a few years.
Yeah, this is in that category of like, it's not bad, it's also not good, which unfortunately makes it just kind of, fall to the wayside.
Yeah, and it's a little bit unusual for Viper in that he has a lot of. You heard a feature on that song, right?
Yep,
There's a woman. Her name is Ice LaBelle, for what it's worth. The woman doing the chorus. And like almost every track on this album has a feature of some sort. And that is going to be vanishingly rare for the entire rest of Viper's discography. Almost everything else he's going to do entirely himself. And like, the beats are like, he still has that like kind of lo-fi sound, but they're at a normal tempo. And it kind of sounds like the sort of, Southern hip hop.
Yeah,
like Nelly or Ludacris or whoever, someone from that era.
I would call that low energy. I would not call that like drugged out low energy where we get to.
My basic one sentence review of this record is, to me, it represents like the last honest to God attempt that Viper would make to sound like a legitimate rapper. And obviously like that didn't really work out for him. Like he really pulled all the stops. He got every friend that he could to help out on this thing, but like a lot of great independent efforts, it just like it wasn't enough to break into the mainstream.
Well, there's too many. He's not doing anything weird enough yet to stand out.
Yeah. But the good news is, apparently Viper's dream of being a normal-ass rapper wouldn't last for long. Because a mere 3 years later, Viper would take a quantum leap into the unknown, pioneering a bizarre and brilliant style that no rapper on earth could ever hope to imitate. Here it is, folks. We are about to enter Viper's golden age.
You gon' die. You fucked off my drive-by. It can't slide. If it was me, it wouldn't ride. You gon' die. You fucked off my drive-by. It can't slide. If it was me, it wouldn't ride. Motherfucker thought you saw I could split me, but I was ready when you tried to come and get me. It was real though, you gave it a try, but I saw your bitch ass out the corner of my eye. I saw you coming fast in the black lat, and I knew what was up, 'cause I heard that you wanted to smoke me 'cause your ego got down when you heard I called you.
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
I
goddamn.
like that track, man.
Oh, I love it, man.
That is the soundtrack to Broken American Dreams.
just the deepest, darkest, I don't know, like just something almost Lovecraftian about
Oh
it,
yeah, 'cause
isn't it?
there's even like a leftover. If you go back and listen to the clip, it's got this high pitch like.
Yeah, it's like this
he
little
left-
tinnitus ring in there.
Yeah, and it's like left in there, and I don't know if it's on purpose. If it is genius. If it's not, then good on him for leaving it.
He has it in a lot of his other songs too, so I think it is on purpose.
It's cool.
Yeah. And I think Viper sees himself as a producer first and a rapper second. But no, like just like everything we've been talking about, like the juxtaposition of like these really like kind of nasty gangsta lyrics with his
Slow, deep voice.
Yeah.
and like just that like kind of like relaxed, like druggy, cloudy atmosphere, like just it shouldn't work, but somehow it does.
I always have to like tie it into the shit I know. There's a subgenre of metal called doom metal.
Yeah.
And if you take it even further, it's called funeral doom metal, where they're playing like a note every 2 to 4 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you took Metallica and just slowed it down to its logical extreme, and it doesn't seem like it should work. Like you lose the intensity, you lose the chest beatingness of it, but you gain something too. You gain this atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's doing with rap. You lose like the I'm gonna go shoot up the block with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
You lose that male testosterone, but you gain this like cosmic understanding, drugged out energy. Like
Yeah, that's exactly it. And even the sheer simplicity of his lyrics, because like there's no like lyrical gymnastics here.
Go to the store, buy myself a beer. That's not.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here.
There you go.
But like I would compare it to like his lyrics are kind of like Meg White's drummings, you know? Like
she's just enough to fill the void, do the thing that you need to do.
Yeah, it's like, Meg White of the White Stripes,
Yep.
like she's often chastised for being a shitty drummer, and she is, but that's the point. And
She's good at her one specific thing.
But I think by being as rudimentary as Meg White is, it opens up more space for Jack White to like explore this really dirty, like grungy, lo-fi guitar sound that he wants to take over the entire space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the same is true of Viper in his production. And the lyrics are just simply a very bare vehicle for all of those weird, like low end sounds that he wants to flood into your space.
Oh yeah, it's the tortilla chip to your nachos.
Yeah,
it's just the delivery vessel.
Absolutely. Between 2006 and 2009, Viper would self-release a series of albums that fans now identify as his classic era. It was during this period that Viper truly came into his own, employing a wide range of unusual production tricks and making full use of his deep voice. Simply put, during the late 2000s, Viper was on another level, even if almost nobody knew it at the time. And Cal, like, you can really hear the influence of chopped and screwed music in this, can't you?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, he took it again, in a little bit of the direction of our vaporwave rant, but you can definitely tell the roots of this thing are all in that chopped and screwed stuff.
Yeah. One thing that people say a lot about Houston when I was watching a lot of these like chopped and screwed documentaries is it's a huge city and it's a very hot city. So people are like kind of always looking for ways to relax.
Yeah, you're lethargic.
Yeah. So like you're not going to be like amped up like, people in New York City are. Like,
right.
They don't, your mind isn't running a million miles a minute. It's just like you're doing everything you can to slow the fuck down.
Yep. I actually have always wanted, how people in the South of America talk slower?
Yeah.
This has always been my theory as to why.
I think that, yeah, because it's like, you can practically chew the air in the parts of the South, it totally makes sense. Now, there are a lot of songs from this period of Viper's career that I'd love to play for you guys, but alas, I know that you guys are busy, and this episode's going to be way too long as it is. But let me at least play for you one of my all-time favorite Viper tracks. It's one of the slowest, grimiest, nastiest songs in its entire catalog. And the subject matter is, of all things, basketball. This song is called Mahops.
Yeah! I think that, I'm pretty sure, is the song you got me into Viper with, where like it finally clicked for me.
Yeah. I spent years like trying to like get Cal to understand Viper.
That one, I like to imagine a literal universe where you take like his words at face value, and there is actually people who want to kill him because he's just too goddamn good at
just
basketball.
like imagine like a group of people like sitting at parks like, yo, we got a fucking ice Viper, man. He's so good.
Check out his hops.
He's getting these fucking dunks with nuts in our faces.
It's also funny to picture a guy of the energy level of Viper's rapping somehow being amazing at basketball.
I know, he seems like the kind of guy that like couldn't dribble with
that's his technique. It's his dribbling is so slow it
he
fucks
actually
you
slows
up.
down
Yeah,
gravity.
It screws you up.
I know. The whole vibe of that, it just like the beat, the slow delivery, it works on every level for me. Like that. Say what you want about most of Viper's career or like how dumb a lot of his music I'm sure sounds to most of our audience, but like that shit just really slaps for me.
I've tried to never outright talk about how much drugs in my life I've done on this show, but I think this conversation, I can't avoid it. If you're a complete teetotaler your whole life, you probably don't get this at all.
No.
I feel like you need a certain level of drug education to have any appreciation for this man.
And if you're that teetotaler, like, good for you. Keep listening to Immortal Technique or whatever shit that you can only vibe with. But like, just for the fucked up people in the room, like, there's Viper.
Yes.
And there needs to be a guy like Viper. Suffice it to say, the late 2000s were a period of unprecedented creativity for Viper. But unfortunately, no great thing can last forever. And starting around 2010 or so, Viper's music becomes less and less consistent. He began to abandon the hypnotic clap-rod sound in favor of music that was more up-tempo and straightforward, even employing autotune on occasion.
No!
The results are, I'll say, mixed at best. It was also during this period that Viper began to do something rather odd. Remember how earlier I talked about how Viper has a very large discography? Well, if I had told you at the beginning how large it is, you just wouldn't have believed me, and you probably won't believe me now, but Viper has released anywhere between 1,500 and 2,000 albums. Not songs, albums. At minimum, 1,500 albums.
Do the math on that shit quick, guys.
Do you see why I couldn't listen to all of them?
Yeah,
before
if
we
you
did this?
released an album a day, that is 5 years of your life.
It's like so fucking weird.
Dude, Nick, if you really were dedicated, you could have done like 4 a day, and we could have released this episode in like 2 years.
Like at podcast episodes?
Yes.
Or, yeah.
No, you would have had to listen to 4 Viper albums a day.
Oh yeah.
And then maybe in like 2 years we could have tackled this with
we could have taken a break, lost 100% of our audience, and then like come back in 2 years to talk about a rapper that nobody's heard of, but I've reviewed all of his albums.
It would have been worth it to us.
Okay, 1,500 albums. That is a impossible number to wrap your head around. But here's the thing. The vast majority of those albums are essentially fake.
Yeah.
like so
They gotta be.
Yeah, so it's not as though like he is going into the studio each day for 5 years and coming up with 100% original material every time. He is that
prolific.
No, like he's not like just this psycho like higher IQ than Mozart level of creativity, like because that's what that would take.
I call this one Hiram Clark Sonata number 3.
So basically what he does is he starts to release albums that feature either remixes of songs that he already did with a new title, or basically just lifting old songs and giving them different titles, different track orders, and just releasing them as though they were original new songs.
That gets weird, man. I had an argument once with a roommate that I had where I was saying, like at some point we're going to hit a point in rock music where every riff has been written.
Yeah.
And he got really pissed off and he challenged me. He's like, do you know mathematically how many notes that is? How many? And I had to be like, do you realize that if you write Paranoid and you change one note, is that really a new song? Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying mathematically every possibility there is.
Well, what if Viper re-released Paranoid, but he slowed it down by 25%?
That counts.
And called it Crazy.
That counts. That counts.
That's a new Viper song.
Yes.
What if he did a chopped and screwed version of Paranoid and called it Finished with My Woman?
That counts.
And then put that on an album.
Yes.
Like, you think I'm joking, but this is what Viper does. Like,
yes.
This is literally his approach.
So he's taken the music business to its logical conclusion. What constitutes a new song?
Like, literally, it is quantity over quality. That's this guy's philosophy. And he clearly didn't do that at first, because those albums that we were just raving about a second ago, those were all original.
Yep.
Those were all like new songs. And like, by the way, he put out 3 albums a year during that period. That's super prolific.
Yeah,
that
it is.
takes an insane amount of effort. So like, it's not as though he was ever lazy. It's just that for whatever reason, he got into this zone where he just wanted to just start like flooding the space with new stuff. Like he's been asked about why he does this, and his belief is basically more albums equals more fame.
Sure.
And like, okay, you know, Caroline, you and I could do that. We could, instead of doing a podcast every 2 to 3 weeks, we could start releasing 5 a day. But we could just we could re-release the Creed episode and call it Smash Mouth and not change a thing. But here you go, new Smash Mouth episode of Polishing Turds.
But in the modern era of like YouTube bullshit, how wrong is he? Like, it really is just that important. Just get your name fucking all over the place.
I'll say one thing. In the period where VIPER actually starts to get noticed, which we're still actually a couple of years away from that in our chronology, he does get noticed for this. Like, you start to see articles, where like VIPER, this an internet rapper has released 347 albums this year. It's actually a little bit more than that. But so he got attention for doing this.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm saying. I mean, like, this shit pisses me off. I think this ruins the integrity of music, but I understand it. Like, I don't think he's that far off.
I mean, what it does is it makes being a fan of VIPER a very overwhelming and taxing experience. Because
you open up his Discogs page, you're like, what the fuck?
Because, like, if it weren't for the handful of fans that have curated this stuff and pointed out which albums are actually good and worth listening to, I probably never would have become a fan of this guy. I would have, because if you're rolling the dice on any random VIPER album, there's a 9 out of 10 chance you're going to land on something totally crappy and not worth listening to at all.
Yep. And that's what I was getting at earlier. It's, I went into this script thinking like, I know VIPER. And then the more I thought, I was like, no, statistically, I know like 1% of VIPER's output.
Yeah. So to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, I want to play you one of the songs from VIPER's so-called spam period. This is one I did show you earlier, Cal. This one has a video on YouTube. It's called... This actually is the title. The song is called I Did 9/11.
Well, that was an experience. I think this is where his style goes like full meme.
Yeah.
Like the comments on YouTube are more interesting than the song. Like, this is where people are like, I don't understand your style, but transdimensional beings do. Like, it's getting weird.
Oh yeah. And then, like, of course there's like all the people who are ironic, like, Kendrick Lamar crywanks to VIPER.
Right.
Or,
This VIPER's your best shit so far.
It's like, VIPER makes Kanye want to kill himself, So, and that's like almost 100% of VIPER's audience is like basically white dudes being ironic about him. But a quick note about that song. So that track, which is listed on YouTube, originally it was listed as I Did 9/11, and then he changed the title to I Certainly Did Not Do 9/11.
It's I Certainly Did Not Did 9/11.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, I don't know, maybe he got worried that the FBI would like start to investigate him or something.
This VIPER man says he did 9/11.
Did we invade Afghanistan for nothing? But so that song is actually, to the best of my knowledge, it's a remix of a song from his 2015 album, The Top Mala, called It Ain't a Thing Like Shinin'. And the original version, if I remember, like sounded a little bit more human than that. That mix sounds like if somebody left a cell phone on vibrate on top of a table.
I do some of the audio processing for this show. And I guarantee you he had like the limits of the waveform like way outside of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
To get that sound effect where it's just like garbled and fucked up.
And that's like kind of what he does is he just takes all the songs that he did during his classic period, the songs that he wrote while he was in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And he just like, he recycles them.
See, I feel validated now about talking about how, he wrote 300 songs in prison. Were they good?
Well, like they were, and then he kept recycling them and making them progressively worse. Like he comes out with all these, like he actually does his own chopped and screwed remixes, but it's kind of superfluous with Viper because like...
Yeah, if you're already chopped and screwed, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's like, it just like, there's only so screwy you can get.
Chopped her and screwed her.
So actually, we were talking earlier about how some of these songs, if you play them at 1.5 speed,
they
actually sound
good.
a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
It's like, they should be doing that. But no, like that, but that's essentially what he starts doing is like, putting out these like really just fucked up mixes of his songs, or in some cases not even bothering to do that. Like sometimes a quote unquote new Viper album will just be an old album with a new track listing and new titles for the songs. It's just like the most transparently lazy thing possible. But if there's any redeeming thing from this period of Viper's career is that among the 1,500 to 2,000 albums that he did, these albums have pretty fucking funny titles. So let me just go off on a tangent for a little bit and list some of my favorite Viper album titles from this period. You have Fish and Chips, I Seen a Skull, Kill Yourself, My Man. This is the title. Google rapper Viper to listen to and download his free music. That's an album title. Fuck the world, I bend the spoon with my mind. Only thing she want more than crack is you. See you in space, cowards. Blue ass titties. My bars melt cities. I ate the poison apple. You can't kill me. Having sex with my dog walker. On an air mattress full of bitches. Move over. Give me the bike so I can ride into the pool. Jumped off the porch at 14. Why the fuck is Tibet still ain't free? 4 question marks.
Why the fuck is Tibet still ain't free?
There's like, I love that because like the Beastie Boys did like a whole free Tibet concert.
I want to know what prolific rhymes were in that record. Because it's just Hiram Park Clussler like remixed again.
What you looking at? Bitch. The pen ain't mightier than my pistol. The moon is my son. He looked just like me.
Oh my God.
Life ain't shit but a fat vagina. God has no respect for you. And then another one called God has no respect for me. I'm better than you. I'm greater than you. I'm a lot smarter than you. I scored top 98% on the SAT. The greatest creation of God.
Is this what happens if you just decide you want to make a mockery of the concept of an album in general?
There are also some albums with vaguely religious titles. There is I Am the Last Messenger of the Returning Jesus Christ, which is also the title of a future Toby Keith record. Yeah. Another one called God, Please Fix What Has Been Broken. Another one called You Don't Love Your Fellow Man Because You Don't Have Your Mask, and that's why Christ, parentheses Jesus, is coming to finish Earth on or before 2037, parentheses, because you don't practice the golden rule.
Wow, that one was specific.
There's also, I'm going to go to his Twitter page because between the time that we record this podcast and when it's going to be released, he's probably going to release like 7 albums. So let's see what he's up to lately. Oh, he's got one called Stepping Up My Afterlife Game. One he put out recently called The Rapture Is Now and Christ is Returning Soon. Ain't no such thing as black equality and black justice in this pussy-ass world. That's why me and Christ gonna blow this fuck-ass world up, and all you lame excuses for people gonna burn alive, and I can't wait to see you fuckers burn, even when I'm burning with all you worthless pieces of shit. That is an album title.
He just out-incelled the incels, dude. That was amazing.
It's just, you can't tell if he takes himself seriously or not. Like, he's either a hyper genius troll or a super crazy person or both. By the early 2010s, Viper was releasing albums of recycled material by the hundreds. And in the middle of this psychotic experiment, something strange happened. He actually started to get noticed.
See? Told you.
Well, yeah, so this is the part of the Viper story where we, like, the outside world, besides just his small group of friends / crack patrons in Houston, finally learn about Viper. And I can tell you that I first heard about this guy in the summer of 2015. My good friend Patrick, who actually does the theme music for this show, showed me this guy. And I just thought it was like the weirdest thing I'd ever heard. But this is when he starts to make the rounds. And it actually all started in 2013 on the 4chan board Moo. This may be like the only time in human history that 4chan ever did something positive for humanity, specifically for a black person. Definitely the only time 4chan ever did something good for a person of color. But sometime in 2014, this 4chan board started talking about his 2008 album, Y'all Cowards Don't Even Smoke Crack. And it's easy to see why. The song is fucking weird.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy. It has an absolutely bonkers title, complete with the spelling. Like, it's just, and even, we didn't even talk about the album cover, Cal. Like talk about that a little bit.
All his album covers. They're just all some weird low-res picture of his face.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you took your driver's license photo and puffed it up to the size of a CD jewel case.
But I especially love the Y'all Cowards album cover because he just he looks so cheeched out. Like, yeah. Like he looks the way that song sounds.
Yes.
It is a perfect album cover.
Yes.
Like, I will put it right up there with like Dark Side of the Moon or Abbey Road
I
or
totally
any
agree.
one of those.
It adds to the home movies quality of it.
Yes.
Like, it adds to the amateurness, the feel of the whole thing.
No, it's absolutely perfect. And I think, like, as I've said before, I think the appreciation of Viper started out clearly ironic and actually kind of developed for certain people into something kind of sincere. So he starts to pop up on 4chan and other kind of hipster boards, and pretty soon his videos on YouTube are blowing up, and Viper is like actually getting written up by blogs like Vice and Noisy. And these are like very hipster, music sites. And, the write-ups from this period, they're complimentary of him. They acknowledge that he's got an original sound. He's got a very interesting voice. And, it's an overall kind of positive, but there's always kind of a tongue-in-cheek quality to what they're writing. Like, look at this idiot. Like, they're treating him like an idiot savant, which it's very easy to think that that's what Viper is, because it sounds so dumb. It doesn't sound like a guy who had 2 very professional people for parents. It doesn't sound like a guy who's been playing piano since the age of 5 and got a business degree from the University of Houston.
Right.
It's like, it's very just left field from another fucking planet. And, certain people vibed with that. So, finally, at long last, you got to think from Viper's perspective. Like, by this point, 2013, he's in his 40s by now. And he had been making music for over a decade by that point, and nobody had noticed. He could have easily been at least noticed in the indie rap world. But, like, for some reason, just everybody passed him over. And he clearly kind of, I think, got upset by that. He got frustrated. He got frustrated by the fact that no labels were interested in him. No, like, serious, like, venues or the source, wasn't interested in him. But now he finally has an audience. It's probably the last audience that he ever expected. Like, seriously, like, just, it's a bunch of white hipsters.
Yep, white internet nerds.
Like, it's guys like Cal and I. It's like really not the type of people that Viper probably ever associated with or wanted to cultivate. But that's what his audience is.
That's the magic of the internet.
Like, Cal, imagine if this podcast took off, but it took off amongst, like, 60-year-old Asian women. And, like, that was our audience suddenly. And, like, and we were just getting, like, tons and tons of love from, like, really old Asian ladies. And we have to start catering to them somehow.
And it's for weird ass reasons. Like, it's like how we have our Wisconsin O's. It has nothing to do with our music knowledge or appreciation. It's for stupid ass reasons.
So this is, like, kind of what happens to Viper is, he starts to get picked up by these, like, pseudo-ironic internet kids. And I think he starts to play into that a little bit. Nowadays, like, Viper, he'll sell crack pipes with his logo on them. Like, he's leaned into that so much. Like, the fact that he got noticed for that song. Even though, like, it's a good song. It's not his best song, I don't think. But he played into that persona so much. And then during this period, he also started to kick his already freakish album production into overdrive. So in 2014, you start to see articles that kind of marvel at the fact that Viper has released 347 albums that year. I don't think most of those writers knew, like, that most of those albums were like, not original material.
Well, no, I mean, how could they? They'd have to actually listen to them. They'd actually have to do their research.
Yeah. But according to one chronicler that I ran into on the internet, this is a guy who put out an Excel sheet of all of Viper's known albums. And just according to just a basic Control F search, he released at least 450 albums in 2014. And then he released over 600 albums in 2015.
Wow.
And again,
Nick, I don't know what to be more impressed with, the album output or the fact that some man sat down and chronicled them all in a fucking Excel sheet.
Well, I guess when you're not getting laid, this is the kind of freedom you have to do.
Time does terrible things to a man.
But to me, the main tragedy from this period is that Lee Carter stopped taking himself seriously. The outside world started to view Viper as a joke, and very few people were aware that the dude had made some genuinely good music in his early years. Trust me when I say that the more you learn about Viper, the less you understand him. With that in mind, I want to devote this next section to talking about Lee Carter the man, and some of the more outlandish things that he's done as a person. So I want to start with something called Free Movers Inc. So remember how I mentioned earlier that Viper is a licensed real estate broker?
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't actually get his real estate license until 2018, but apparently he'd been doing real estate business for at least 10 years before that.
Okay.
So,
because that works like that.
So, I mean, I guess the guy is used to black market dealings.
Yeah.
So, he started this company called Free Movers Inc. Now, this is a real registered LLC that Lee Carter owns and supposedly operates. Now, according to Viper, Free Movers Inc. is a real estate service that finds an apartment or a home for an individual and then moves them in at a discounted rate. And you might ask, how does this business model work? Well, supposedly they earn most of their money by collecting referral fees from the apartment complex owner. In other words, okay, so Cal, you're a landlord who rents apartments.
Okay.
So you need new tenants, right?
Yep.
And let's just say hypothetically that there's not things like Zillow or, like apartments.com
yep.
or anything else like that in the world.
No, I get it. We're in the Hiram Clark neighborhood.
Yeah, so you're in the Hiram Clark neighborhood, but you need people to come in and fill your empty vacant units. So, but in comes Lee Carter with Free Movers Inc., and he is going to find some family to move into your vacant unit, and all he's going to charge you, the landlord, is first month's rent for that unit.
Fuck you.
So,
yeah.
So this supposedly is how Free Movers Inc. makes most of its money. And then the same thing with home sales is they charge a 6% commission on home sales, which is the industry standard.
Sure.
But, so they're doing apartment sales, they're doing home sales, they're doing commercial lease sales. He's a jack of all trades, this Lee Carter.
Yeah, this is
operating out of his sole apartment on 4210 Belgrade in Houston, Texas.
Yeah, I'd be like, Lee, I have to ask you, what is this business a front for? Because there's no way you are making enough money to live.
And Cal, you were not the first person to make that accusation because from all the evidence I could find, there's very little evidence that this business has real legit customers.
I could see it getting customers. You could trick someone into saying you'll do this for them.
Yeah.
I don't see how they actually fill a unit.
Yeah. So apparently years ago, there were people who tried to use Free Movers Inc. as a business service. And I say tried to because the only evidence I have of this comes from complaints that were posted to the Better Business Bureau's website. And these complaints have since been deleted. It's been hard to track down the exact history of these posts, but so bear with me. I'm just gonna tell you what these complaints say. So this is quoting from one of the complaints. The owner and an additional mover showed up to move me in a handmade trailer with no lights on the inside, holes in all the flooring, a door that didn't properly close, attached to a mid-sized pickup with only one headlight. Both movers had no shirts on and smelled of alcohol. Which, to be fair, if Cal and I ever offered to help somebody move, that's probably like how we do.
This is my normal state.
I contacted the owner, and he says he doesn't have a broker license, nor does he have proof of services rendered. According to our records, there are no records of the people that he is invoicing for ever living at this property.
Yeah, okay. So, it's all coming together.
Yeah, so in other words, it's all like super shady shit that I feel bad for anybody that took Free Movers seriously at any point. But if you'll ask Lee, like he claims that this business is what's going to make him the world's first trillionaire. And but that is going to happen, Cal. He's going to become a trillionaire once Free Movers Inc. goes public.
Oh, okay.
So once he gets his IPO approved, once people can start buying stock in Free Movers, then instant trillionaire status.
But like, what do they pay him to move them?
Well, so supposedly, you get a $75 credit. This is all basically based off of the offering statement that he sent to the SEC. So like that's why this is public knowledge. You get a free move of up to $75 worth of stuff. I don't know how he calculates that, but anything over $75 worth, you have to pay for.
Okay.
So it's not literally free moving.
So if he moved, a family, and they only had $75 worth of stuff somehow. I don't know.
I mean, sadly, there are families like that exist.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You'd have to move the population of the Earth, essentially, in that scenario.
Yeah, but you're also charging rent to the landlord. So, so this family that only has $75 worth of stuff is paying for a $1,200 a month apartment. But okay, but anyway, back to the stocks, because this is
Yeah.
where the money's really going to come in. And boy, if you ask Viper, pretty much any interview that you'll see him in, he mentions how free movers is a great investment.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, he's come from the Donald Trump school here. Talk up your business no matter where you are, what the opportunity is. Name brand recognition.
oh yeah. So in 2010, Viper attempted to register shares in free movers with the SEC so people could buy stock in his company legally. The official offering statement is publicly available online, and I'm going to post a link to this because this is some really fascinating stuff here. So in this offering statement, Viper claims, and this is in 2010, that the business has been in operation for 2 years and their annualized revenue is around 1.6 million.
Not buying it, but okay, we
So
keep going.
So this is a time where Viper is self-releasing CDs. Actually, not even CDs. Like he very rarely pressed any of his stuff on CD.
I'm sure it's all digital. If you're making that many albums a year.
Yeah, so he's putting out independent shit that sounds like what it sounds like. But on the side, he's running a business that makes that makes $1.6 million a year. So, okay, take that at face. Let's say he's correct.
Sure.
Let's say he really is pulling in 1.6 million from moving people in a mid-sized pickup with no headlights. He goes on to assert in this document that over the next 5 years, Free Movers will increase its revenue at a rate of 300% annually, moving from its sole office in Houston, Texas, to over 90 cities worldwide by 2014, bringing in a yearly profit of over $36 billion.
Damn, he cracked the code. He figured it out.
So-
Moving, that's what we should have gotten into.
Fuck podcasting.
Yeah.
We'll start moving and make $36 billion.
Quit my
within
job
5
tomorrow. All you
years.
need is a truck. One headlight out of 4.
You can drink all day.
Yeah, no shirt. Just do
Don't
whatever.
even need it. No shirt, no problem. So not surprisingly, the SEC decided to decline his stock offering.
Darn.
They actually claimed that he didn't file the paperwork properly, but I'm sure even if he had,
Yeah, it's what
they'd read
difference
this
does it
and be
make?
like, this is not a real business plan. And Viper, God bless him, he responded by suing the SEC. He's claimed over the years that the SEC was discriminating against him because he's it's a black-owned business. But
You can't.
come on, man.
Yeah.
That actually kind of sucks because there are legitimate black-owned businesses that
Yes.
face a hurdle
Yes.
by being black-owned businesses, and you're just making their shit even worse
Yes.
by lumping your bullshit scam in with them.
It's definitely not my place to call out what is black card and what's not, but this, come on, Viper, come on.
So yeah, in all probability, Free Movers Inc. is a scam.
Yeah.
And maybe it started out as a way for him to launder drug money, or maybe he actually did take this idea seriously at some point.
I mean, it's just, maybe it's just a fun side project of how far can I take something stupid? Let's just see. Let's just find out.
And speaking of scams, we need to talk about how often Viper has ripped off the one group of people you'd think he'd respect the most, his own fans. Now, it's well known in Viper world that if you order something off of his Bandcamp, there's a very good chance you won't get it. And I myself can attest to this. So this is where we get to the story of how I have had personal contact with Viper. So you see, the story is this. In December of last year, Viper started offering the Yule Cowards album on vinyl, and I decided to order a copy for Cal as a Christmas present. I ordered this on December 8th, and for weeks and weeks, the album did not come. And Cal probably thought I was just the shittiest friend in the world for not getting him a Christmas present. But
I did not think any such thing.
Aw,
For
shucks.
the record.
And then finally, after 7 weeks of getting nothing in the mail, I finally reached out to Viper via his email, which, by the way, I don't know why this is funny to me, but it's leecarter@netzero.com.
That is some Hotmail-ass shit. That's old school.
I didn't know that NetZero still existed. So I'm going to share you our whole conversation verbatim. So this is what I emailed Viper. Dear Viper, on December 8th, 2021, I purchased a limited edition 10th anniversary Y'all Cowards Don't Even Smoke Crack vinyl for $49.95. More than 6 weeks later, I still have not received this item. I'm sure you're overwhelmed with orders, and it's nothing malicious on your part, but I'd like to know when can I expect my purchase to arrive. The following day, Viper replied with this message.
Hi, Nick. How are you, family? Great, I hope. Thanks so much for your patience. Your product is in queue to be shipped in the next couple of days. I'm personally overseeing your order, and I'll email you your tracking number shortly. Thanks again for your patience, as your order will be to you real soon. God bless you. Lee Carter, a.k.a. Viper, a.k.a. Vipe.
AKA Black Jesus.
That email is like everything I wanted it to be. It's so funny. However, this tracking number failed to materialize. Now, being a polite Midwesterner, I waited nearly 2 weeks to email Viper again. And this time, I simply wrote, "Thanks for getting back to me. Do you have an update on that tracking number?" And this yielded no response at all. And for more than 2 months later, I heard absolutely nothing. I was beginning to lose patience. On April 11th, I emailed Viper this. Mr. Carter, I'm writing once again to ask when can I expect the product I purchased from your Bandcamp? It's been months now, and I haven't heard from you, and I'm very concerned. Please give me some kind of update soon, otherwise I'll have to take it up with the people at Bandcamp. Now this time, Viper did respond. 2 days later, on April 13th, he wrote back to me,
Hi, Nick. Okay, you'll have tracking by Sunday. Thanks.
But of course, this too was a lie. By April 22nd, I had had enough. I emailed Bandcamp's support staff. To Bandcamp's credit, they did respond quickly and effectively. They must have done something behind the scenes to kick Viper's ass into gear, because less than a week later, I finally got my product.
Yep. Woo!
And, so if anyone out there has ordered vinyl in the mail, you know that usually you get it in some kind of cardboard case of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
This album just came in pure shrink wrap with an 8x11 blank sheet of paper on which he wrote out my address and the return address. And then a personalized note, which was just like, Hi, Nicholas. God bless.
Yeah.
Love, Vipe.
I gotta say, for what it's worth, the signed note's pretty cool.
It is. And
it's so, this is a great Christmas gift. I love it.
No, like as long as it took and as frustrating as the whole process was, just on an emotional level, when that thing finally came in the mail, like all was forgiven.
What's funny though to me is like, there's two scenarios here. Like he had it sitting around and was just being a lazy fuck, or he was like legit waiting for the plant to press some more. But if that's the case, why didn't he tell you that?
I'm 100% sure it was option A.
Yeah.
Like, because I've heard this from many, many people who order Viper's shit off of Bandcamp is they don't get it. This has been a long-standing complaint with him. And I think it's only because I emailed Bandcamp that he did anything at all.
Right.
So, I don't know what they said to him behind the scenes, but he clearly, was motivated to do something. But I think he's like a selective scammer. Like, I think he's counting on the fact that most people are pussies and aren't going to do anything at all. Or like me, are going to wait 6 months to do something about it.
I think that has to be it. It's numbers game.
Yeah.
Because he's shown propensity to understand that.
Yeah.
He went to business school and then he started, getting himself in the YouTube algorithm by releasing hundreds of albums. He probably knows, like, all right, if only if a third of people who order these actually press about it, that's who I'll give albums to.
But I feel like in the long run, that's not a good strategy, because I would love nothing more than to tell our listeners to buy the music of this guy that I clearly like a lot. But I'm actually have to warn her audience, please don't buy Viper's music, because you're probably going to get ripped off. Also, by the way, that vinyl package was supposed to come with a CD as well as the vinyl. And the CD I got was actually a burner CDR that he didn't even bother to burn music onto. There's no playable files on the disc. It's just a blank fucking CD that says to Nick, Viper.
So he technically gave you a CD.
He gave you a CD, just not a CD with music on it. Which in its own way is pretty fucking based.
That's funny.
It is. Yeah. I will treasure that forever for sure. But like, just, I wouldn't accept that from like, can you imagine like Metallica does that? Like you order a Metallica album, you don't get it for 2 years.
Here's your CD, bitch.
And then also I want to talk a little bit about Viper's feelings on COVID-19. So, you know, this pandemic, it's been a very trying time for all of society. And look, it's been a very controversial topic. There's been a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of very strong feelings on both sides about vaccines and masks and all that stuff. So I want to just get that disclaimer out of the way. Before I mention that, no matter what you feel about COVID or vaccines or whatever, I think we'll all agree that some of the shit Viper has said about this issue is a little bit much. So, just to take one example, and there are many, many examples. This is a tweet from May 20th, 2021. Viper wrote, in all caps, "The COVID-19 vaccine is the mark of the beast, so blacks will not get the COVID vaccine because blacks know it's the mark of the beast. Parentheses, because each COVID vaccine shot contains the body and soul of a dead infant, so less than 6% of all blacks will ever get the COVID vaccine."
I love how he's an exact percent number in his head. 6%.
Well, it's like 666.
Oh,
6%.
I didn't think about it.
Yeah, it's all numerological, biblical shit, bro. So, like, and I swear to God, I was following him on Twitter during this time. He would tweet something like this every single day. Like, he literally thinks that each COVID vaccine contains the blood of a dead infant.
Yeah, the thing is, man, I wish I was more surprised for comedic effect, but I'm at this point with humans. I think, like, you can choose to believe something and then go yell about it enough on the internet that you feel validated. And given what we already know about Viper,
yeah,
I'm just not surprised.
I mean, no, but here's the thing. I mentioned how Viper's mother died in 2021. Guess what she died of?
Okay.
She died of COVID.
So maybe it did a number on him, and this is his way of expressing himself.
That's highly possible. But what if, for the sake of argument, what if she didn't get a vaccine because his son's telling her it's made from dead babies? It's a sign of how utterly endangered our republic is, that it's funny but not that funny, because
yeah, I know.
Probably someone in my sister's church believes this shit too. I shouldn't even be making a big deal out of it, maybe.
Times are tough for logic and reason.
Yeah. And finally, no account of Viper's shenanigans is complete without his infamous catfishing episode. You see, Viper frequently posts his private cell phone number in public, both on social media and on the Free Movers Inc. website. And sometime in 2015, some trolls from 4chan decided to text him posing as a 17-year-old fangirl named Kelly. Now, how the fuck do you think this went?
I can already tell you I'm not going to be surprised.
This is where it gets kind of dark, people, and this is just not a very good reflection of Viper as a person at all. But this is what happens. So they start to text him as quote-unquote Kelly, they just send this generic message like, "Hi, I'm your biggest fan. Like, you're so awesome. Like, I love you. Et cetera, et cetera." Bunch of heart emojis, and Viper immediately responds with, "What grade you in?" And then, "What town you in?" And then Kelly explains that she is a 17-year-old girl living in Missouri. And then this conversation kind of continues, and Viper starts asking Kelly if she has a boyfriend and if she's a virgin. And then when Kelly confirms that she's single and pure and untouched, Viper immediately starts proposing that she move in with him in Houston, attend college at the university, and start working for him at Free Movers Inc., which he claims is going to net her millions of dollars over the next few years. So already we are not in a very good place, are we, Cal?
No. I mean, you can't defend this.
Yeah. So this dynamic goes on for a little while, and then the scammer starts flipping the script, and they send a text to Viper posing as Kelly's dad this time. And the text reads basically like, "Who the fuck is this? Why are you texting my daughter? She's only 17, like a big, long, angry paragraph that you would expect from a dad who stumbled upon this conversation. And in the face of this tirade, Viper responds, 17 is legal, Pops. 17 is legal, Pops. Which is both horrible and dumb, and in its own fucked up way kind of based.
Oh no, that's fucking funny. I mean, the situation's not, obviously, but like that is such a ridiculously hilarious response.
I should note for the record, not that this is any kind of defense for this behavior. It's horrible, but in the state of Texas, 17 is legally the age of consent. Now that said, even if Kelly were a real person, she really does love Viper. This is all still completely unacceptable.
I think what I find it so funny is he didn't try and deny a damn thing. He didn't like, this isn't what it looks like, man. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck your daughter. It's legal. Like,
it's like, I can't actually go to jail over this, so fuck you, Dad.
Oh, and just something about Pops.
I know. So yeah, this is kind of a meme in Viper lore, like 17 is legal, Pops.
Oh man.
So
and that is why you don't let your high school age daughters text their favorite artists.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you
don't know who they are.
Can you imagine? Like, I don't imagine Harry Styles has his phone number available to the public.
Sure.
For obvious reasons. So, well, and by the way, Viper has fallen for this shit multiple times. So there are other instances, like, because obviously, like, 4chan, they can't leave well enough alone.
No,
like,
once you taste blood, once you get him to do this once, it's game on.
Yeah,
people
have done this multiple times, and like he falls for it every fucking time.
Oh,
like,
God.
you dumbass. Like, first of all, he's not a super attractive. I'm not like body shaming Viper, but he's not a very attractive guy. He's in his 50s by this point. He's not Usher. He's not a sex symbol. And even if he was, like, Viper's music, you're not going to meet a lot of women who are into this shit.
Yeah, that is not getting laid music.
No, like, my girlfriend has bore with me throughout the entire duration of this podcast. She's listened to Billy Ray. She's listened to Nickelback. Like, she's put up with every horrible thing I have played for her as I'm doing the research for this show. The one artist I could not talk about or play in front of her was Viper. Like, she cannot stand Viper. So, like, as one YouTuber put, Viper is hoe repellent.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get women into this shit. So the idea that some 17-year-old girl is going to be reaching out to Viper.
I'm your number one fan.
It's like, God damn it, bro. Okay, folks, if you're still with us, and I know this is a long episode, but you may find yourself wondering, why? Why are we spending so much time talking about Viper, a guy that the rest of the world basically regards as a walking meme? Does Viper's music actually matter? The answer is, well, kind of. The music from Viper's classic period presaged the emergence of a subgenre now known as cloud rap. Beginning in the early 2010s, producers such as Clams Casino and Space Ghost Perp started experimenting with hazy lo-fi beats that gave their songs a dreamy psychedelic atmosphere. Many of the sounds they use mirror some of the stuff that Viper was doing half a decade earlier. As an example, let's check out this 2011 track by the rapper A$AP Rocky, and let's see if we can find any parallels to what Viper was doing.
I smoked away my brain, think I'm going dumb. Cocaine up on my gums, I think they going numb. I'm having stomach pains, now I'm throwing up. Cause I'm a microphone fiend. Give me the bass, give me the beat, now let me lean. Tap the vein, let it stream, feel the pain. Young Martin Luther King with a dream that one day that my team, we can make it with this rap. And now we swag and making money in Manhattan. Straight what's happening. They try to intellect with indirections just to test you. A rebel to my death is in my flesh, is in my vessels. Fuck the click you with, I'm finna fuck the bitch you next to. Fuck a metrosexual, suck a dick, I'm disrespectful.
Yeah, so that was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can see it. I like it more with Viper's slow, soothing voice.
Yeah, so that song was produced by the aforementioned Clams Casino, and he's basically just doing a lot of that kind of stuff, but with a guy that can actually rap.
right.
Which I don't know.
Someone you can market.
Like you said, I don't know if it makes it better or worse.
I mean, for me, it makes it worse, but I understand not everyone values the same shit I do when I listen to something.
Yeah. I actually like A$AP Rocky. I haven't listened to much of his stuff, but I like what I've heard from him. And he and a lot of these other guys, like Lil B, Space Ghost Perp, they're doing this kind of rap that's more like dreamy and psychedelic and kind of leaned out. And, as opposed to just trying to be hard all the time,
right.
which was what most of rap was from NWA, up into the next like 20, 30 years. And very few people have taken a different approach. And it's unlikely that Clams Casino or A$AP Rocky heard of Viper, because when Viper was doing his best work, he was out in the wilderness. Nobody knew who he was. It's possible that one of these guys happened upon a Viper mixtape and just never told anybody about it, but he independently had the same idea that was going to become mainstream a few years later. And that is what I really find so interesting about all this, is that as much as he seems like this clown among clowns, Viper actually was ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, Cal, have you ever seen the documentary A Band Called Death?
Yeah. Yep.
So can you kind of summarize for people the premise of that movie and that band?
Well, they were punk before it truly occurred.
Mm-hmm.
So punk before people understood what they were looking at and it became appreciated.
Yeah, but they started, they were like these three black guys that started making music in like the early 70s, like before the Ramones, that happened to sound exactly like the punk rock that would take over the world 5 years later. The only difference is that they never got to put out their album for a variety of reasons, but they did independently get there first. It's just nobody knows about it.
It's so weird how that seems to happen in music history.
Yeah.
It's, the first people to do it don't get credit because nobody gets it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the people that actually have the means to put out an album for them that would reach anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's always later that like one random kid who saw that show does it again 5 years later, right place, right time, and all of a sudden it takes off.
Yeah, and that kid gets remembered as
the originator of this
innovative
genre.
genius. But like you've said before, like there are a million different ideas. There really a finite amount of musical ideas that can be had. And for everything that seems new, it just stands to reason mathematically, given the number of people that are around in the world, somebody probably got there first, or at least thought of it first.
Right.
So a lot of musical success depends on opportunity and luck. And you could debate whether Viper has had opportunity and luck. He definitely got famous, well, internet famous, but it's not what he wanted. He wanted to be a household name. He wants to be like as well known as like Jay-Z or Kanye. I don't think that's going to happen for him.
It's not in the cards. Sorry, dude.
But he got something that was different from that. And you wonder how much of it was just based on his own, self-sabotage, and how much of it was just the dumb luck that, curates both success and failure in the music world that we talk about pretty much on every episode. But whether he's truly influential or not, I think Viper is worth covering because, well, he's fucking interesting. Whatever you think about him, good or bad, Lee Carter is just one weird dude. He's weird, and I think he's worth knowing about. And sometimes, folks, I think that's all you need. All right, Cal, what did we learn today? We definitely spent an awful lot of time talking about this motherfucker. Did we learn anything?
I'm not sure if I learned anything.
Besides that, the vaccines that you took were made from dead babies, and you have at least 3 dead babies inside of you right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I do respect that he's kind of like the embodiment of our modern culture in a weird way.
Definitely of an aspect of our culture, particularly internet culture.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. If you get your name out there at all and get yourself in the algorithms and then proceed to do a bunch of weird scam businesses, I don't know, like that can viably work out for you, even though it shouldn't on paper at all.
We talked about in our Nickelback series about how the worst thing you can be is mediocre. And Viper has avoided that sin.
Yes.
He has been in his career, it's like 1% genius, 99% garbage, 100% fucking weird and making decisions that no sensible human being would make. But never is he dull. Never is he mediocre. And if he was, we probably would have never found out about him.
Nick, if we made 100 albums of us just trying to come up with music based on shit in my house, would we secretly, would we accidentally develop a great album maybe on like our 112th try?
This is like the 100 Monkeys theory.
Yes. I mean, so that's not really what he did because he had his best stuff almost first.
Although I will say that, like, even amongst his his vast litany of shit albums, like, there's a lot of times there's 1 or 2 tracks on even those that are worth listening to.
That's all you need.
Like interesting and weird. Like it's like being a Viper fan is just constantly like sifting your hands through these like gigantic piles of manure to find like little nuggets of chocolate in them.
Let me show you this artist I like. No, that song sucks. That one sucked too. This one's all right. Okay, that one sucked.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to us. I know this is a bit of a weird one. I hope you enjoyed it. But also, please make sure to follow us on social media. We are on Instagram at polishing.turds, Twitter at polishing_turds. And by the way, you should also follow Viper on Twitter because like he will tell you, wouldn't you want to follow the last messenger of Christ?
Yeah, for
Twitter?
real. How would you know the true info about your COVID vaccine without this guy?
Yeah. I mean, I used to think that there were no dead babies in my bloodstream, and now I know that there are several.
Now I know.
Oh yeah. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, our email is polishingturdspodcast@gmail.com. We are always open to suggestions, fan art, any kind of feedback that you have. We love getting it, good, bad, or ugly. Just reach out to us because it's fun and it will make you feel less lonely for 5 minutes of your miserable life.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Always do the next right thing and probably don't smoke crack. Star Viper, Sticky Dicky, Store, Strip Tease, Suck Her Ditties, Suck Her Titties, Suck My Head, Suck My Pop.
Is this a bunch of albums or one?
These are all albums. Every
That wasn't just one long name?
No, those are like 6 separate albums.
Okay.
Cops Can't Read, volumes 1 through 6.